So, you want to become a backend developer? Awesome. Today, we're going to lay out the complete roadmap, a step-by-step guide to landing one of the most powerful and honestly in-demand jobs in all of tech. Ready? Let's get into it. You ever stop and think about what's actually happening when you tap a button on your phone? You see the pretty interface, right? That's the front end. But the back end? Oh, the back end. It's the invisible engine that's doing all the real work. It's processing your request, crunching the data, keeping everything safe and secure. It is literally what makes everything work. So how do you learn to build that engine? Well, it's not as complicated as you might think. We can break the whole journey down into these 5 clear stages. First, you've got to pick your tool. Then, you learn how to build with it. After that, you'll figure out how to store all your data, connect it to the outside world, and finally, you launch it for everyone to see. All right, first things first. Every builder needs their go-to tool, and for a backend developer, that's your programming language. This choice is, well, it's everything. It's the foundation that you're going to build your entire career on, so it's a pretty big deal. And listen up, because this is maybe the single most important piece of advice you're going to get. The biggest mistake new developers make is trying to learn like 5 languages at once. Don't do it. Your mission for the next 2 to 3 months is to pick one language and go deep. Trust me, focus is your superpower here.
Okay, so what are your options? Well, you've got a few heavy hitters. Python is just fantastic if you're starting out. It's super readable and you can do almost anything with it. Then you have C# and Java. These are the big guns, the powerhouses of the corporate world, built for massive, scalable systems. And hey, if you've already dabbled in front-end web stuff, JavaScript with Node.js is probably your fastest ticket to the back-end world.
So, you've picked your language. Now, does that mean you have to build everything from scratch? No way. That's what frameworks are for. A framework is like a powerful toolkit or a pre-built chassis for a car. It gives you a huge head start and makes sure you're not reinventing the wheel. This is going to be your life for the next 2 to 3 months. So if Python was your pick, you've got some incredible options. Django is famous for being batteries included, which means it gives you pretty much everything you could possibly need right out of the box to build a full-blown web app super fast. On the other hand, you've got Fast API. It's newer, much lighter, and, well, the name says it all. It is incredibly fast, and it's perfect for building high-performance APIs. For those of you who went down the C# or Java path, you're now dealing with the titans of the industry. ASP.NET is Microsoft's beast of a framework. It's the backbone of countless enterprise systems. And Spring Boot? That's the absolute standard in the Java universe, known for being rock solid and powering some of the biggest applications in the world. And what if JavaScript is your jam? Your journey starts with Node.js. That's the magic that lets JavaScript run on a server. From there, you can use something like Express.js, which is super minimal and flexible, like a blank canvas. Or you could go with Nest.js, which gives you a lot more structure, kind of like Django for building really big, scalable apps. Okay, so you can write code. You can build logic with a framework. But what good is an app that can't remember anything? The next critical step, and this will take about 2 months, is getting a handle on databases. This is your app's brain. It's long-term memory. It's everything. And you're going to run into 2 main families of databases. On one side, you have SQL databases, like Postgres or MySQL. Think of these like perfectly organized filing cabinets with strict rules. They're amazing for structured data that has to be reliable. On the other side, you have NoSQL databases, like MongoDB. These are more like a flexible box of documents. They're fantastic for when you need to move fast or your data is kind of messy and unpredictable. But here's the secret. It's not just about learning one specific tool. It's about mastering the art of database design. How do you plan out your data? How do you define how different pieces of information relate to each other? Nailing this is the difference between an app that flies and an app that crawls. So, you've got your code, you've got your database. How do you actually let the front end, or a mobile app, talk to it? That's where the API comes in. An API, or Application Programming Interface, is basically the official messenger for your backend. It takes requests, figures out what to do, gets the data, and sends back a response. And building a good API means a few things. First, you need to learn design principles, like REST, which is kind of like the grammar for web communication. But most importantly, it has to be secure. You've got to have authentication, which is like asking for a password to prove someone is who they say they are. And you need authorization, which is like a key card that says what they're actually allowed to do once they're in. So you've done it. You have a real working backend application. It can handle requests, talk to a database, and do it all securely. It works flawlessly on your laptop. Now for the most exciting part of all. Deployment. This is it. This is the final step where you take the code that's been living on your machine and you put it on a server so that anyone, anywhere on Earth can access it through the internet. This final month-long sprint is where your project actually becomes real. To pull this off, you'll need a few DevOps basics. You got to understand a little about how servers work. You'll want to learn a tool like Docker, which is like a standardized shipping container for your code that ensures it runs the same way everywhere. And you'll use a cloud platform like AWS, Vercel, or Railway to actually host your project for you. So, the big question, how long does this whole quest take? Well, if you're consistent, if you're focused, you can get through this entire roadmap in about 8 to 11 months. Just think about that for a second. In less than a year, you could go from zero to deploying a real, live, fully functional backend application. The path is laid out for you. The steps are crystal clear. This isn't some big mystery anymore. It's a concrete plan of action. So the only real question left is the one you see right here. We've given you the map. What are you going to build with it?